says nothing cold as ashes after the fire is gone.
That's Tracy Nelson and Willie Nelson singing together back in 1977. Tracy's got a new album out titled Life Don't Miss Nobody, and yep, Willie's on it, along with friends like Irma Thomas, Charlie Musselwhite, and Marcia Ball. It's Tracy's first new album in 10 years. We found Tracy at home outside of Nashville and began our time together rustling through a few records by her old band, Mother Earth.
There is nothing cold as ashes after the fire is gone.
There's a few of them. Well, that's the one. That is my favorite album cover that we've ever done, and
oh yeah,
and the inside has all the puppies and everybody from the neighborhood, and
there they are.
Yeah.
All right. Do you remember those with as fond times?
No. There was some really great things about being there then, and especially just trying to get started, playing music professionally. But it wasn't, I don't have the wonderful memories of that time. It's too much drugs and too much drugs mostly.
Okay. All right. So let's fast forward to 2023. You've got this album out, Life Don't Miss Nobody, and it's your first one in about 10 years. So, Of course, the obvious question is, what took you so long to get this together, and what inspired you?
Just finding a label that wanted to do it, really.
Right. Yep.
So we did. David Hirschland, who was part of the Bug label then, just liked what I did and told me to make a Tracy record, which I did.
Yes, you have. So you've I think you've described it, or somebody's described it as your own kind of great American songbook collection. And there's like 13 tracks, 12 songs, because you do one twice, of songs that range from blues to folk, a couple from the 19th century, 20th century. Is there something?
Stephen Foster. I mean,
Stephen Foster.
Stephen Foster wrote this incredibly lovely, socially relevant song. Who knew?
There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more.
Yep, that's Hard Times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why did you choose to record it twice?
When I decided to do the song, I really, my husband, Mike, suggested that I really should play piano and play guitar on this record, because I hadn't played guitar on anything in a long time. And just to get the full range of what I do. So I got a 12 string, started woodshedding, but my style of picking, which was from my folk days, really didn't fit in. I didn't record the track with the guitar, so I tried to overdub the guitar, and it just didn't work what I was doing. So I just did a real simple strumming part on the band version of the song. And again, Mike said, well, you should, he'd been listening to me, woodshedding for months. And
right.
he said, you really should, record that too. So we just did it separately with just me singing and playing.
Nice. And on the full band version, there's some interesting instrumentation or sounds. There's a bowed bass and an accordion.
I know.
It's pretty cool. So who came up with those ideas as far as what that should sound like?
Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears while we all sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. I knew I wanted Squeezebox on that song. I'd used Steve Kahn before, and he just plays such lovely stuff. But the tracks, which I can't say enough about. I mean, those tracks, this is a record I still listen to.
Right.
Months after I'm done, which has never happened before. But the tracks, the musicians they came up with the stuff. I gave them the songs, a couple of ideas maybe, and just, let them go. And I've worked with these guys before. I knew they would always come up with something great, but they just surpassed themselves on this. And on that track and every other track, it's what they came up with.
Right, right. And you also worked with a producer who worked with you, Roger Alan Nichols. So how did he fit into the picture?
Well, I don't know. My manager said you'll really like this guy, and I went to the studio and met him, and I really liked him, and he had a track record that and just a background in studio work, because I don't really need someone to tell me sing this way, do this song,
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
I just need somebody to take care of the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And he had that background, but then again, he was wonderful in the studio, just in terms of his input artistically was great, and he helped me with my vocals, and it was a good match.
Right. So when you say he helped you with your vocals,
he's also so funny.
oh, good.
He just laughed all the time, and of course that makes everything better.
Yeah. So when he helped you with your vocals, what does that mean? Did he kind of help you choose the right take, encourage you to?
Yeah, that, and also he gave me a couple of suggestions on my singing that normally I would just say, go fuck yourself, but he was right, just things about habits I got into, and he said you don't really need to do that, and I actually learned a couple things, but mostly he just he loved my singing, and he left it alone unless he had some minor little thing to say.
Right. So most of the songs are covers of the Great American Songbook in your, but there is an original too. Well, the title track is "Life Don't Miss Nobody" is something that you and Mike wrote together. So tell me where that came from, if you don't mind.
You better keep your head down and maybe be afraid, 'cause life don't miss nobody, no.
Well, it's an expression Mike coined and has used as long as I've known him, which is 30 some years. And we just decided, I decided that I wanted to make a song out of it, and he worked on his own version of it for a while, and I worked on it, and I kind of ended up with my version, for me. But it was just taking that idea and then putting some lyrics together with it, and I wanted something Latin-y on on the record, because I've been listening. I've been just binging on the Fania All Stars.
Oh yeah.
Box. And so I wanted something with that kind of a feel, and it just organically came together that way.
Okay. And I see you roped Willie Nelson into this record. How'd that happen?
Yeah, it was not at all difficult, as it turned out.
When you're sad and lonely, have no place to go, come and see me, baby, and bring along some dough, and we'll go honky-tonkin', 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 honey, baby. We'll go honky-tonkin' around this town.
He was actually they were recording the tracks for his latest record in the studio next to where we did our tracks. We did the tracks in one studio and then did everything else at Roger's studio. And Mickey Raphael came in. I hadn't seen him in years. How are you? Great. And I said, boy, I'd really love you and Willie to play on this record, but we run out of guest money. It was a low budget record. And he said, don't worry about it. And he talked to Willie, and it all got done, and it was lovely.
Fantastic. Yeah, we have a Canadian singer who's moved to New Zealand. Her name is Tammy Nielsen, and she managed to get Willie on her record as well. So it's amazing. Yeah. The guy's like 90 years old, and he's as busy as anyone.
It's not like he hasn't done everything already.
Right.
I mean, we did a really good duet 40 years ago or so.
Right.
that got a Grammy nomination, and you know that was, I thought that was kind of the height of what we do. But we just jumped on this song, and it was big fun.
So and the song that you and Willie sing is Hank Williams' tune, Honky Tonkin'. So
Yeah,
why that?
I've always loved that song. I love the weird meter of it.
Uh-huh.
And which I just think it may have been accidental, but it just seems very hip to me.
Right.
And I love the song. It's just and when I talked to Willie, I just said, you know, actually it was after we did the track. I said, you know, this record has some kind of dark stuff on it, and you know, this song was just what I needed to like lift it up a little, and it was. I mean, it was just a happy song.
Cool. And I was very happy to see that you have Irma Thomas on the record.
Well, yeah, Irma and Marcia, that was part of the plan, was to record with all the people that I, you know, have recorded with but hadn't in a long time.
Yeah.
And Irma and Marcia and I did the Sing It record that in the late 90s that we toured and did quite well. And
yep.
But I hadn't really sung with them since. I'd sung with Marcia since, but
right.
you know, live. But so yeah, I called them. We went down to New Orleans, cut a song that all three of us had recorded. Actually, Marcia did it early on in her Frida and the Fire Dogs days, and right. Irma recorded it, and then I recorded it.
And this is I Did My Part?
I Did My Part. And
yeah, Irma recorded it back in like 62, wasn't it?
And I recorded it in 68, 69.
I'm glad I found you out in time. There's still a whole lifetime, baby, and it's all mine. Well, I won't cry.
I mean, I've recorded so many of Irma's songs. When I first got turned on to her, I just couldn't get enough, and I was just starting to sing with a band, so I was right. pulling all her songs. I recorded so many of her songs, and when I went back, and as it turned out on this record, the ballad, the Doc Thomas ballad, "There's Always One More Time."
Uh-huh.
Irma had recorded that. I didn't realize it. So this is one time I didn't actually take a song from her repertoire, but I did accidentally.
Right.
I was playing Roger, my version of I Did My Part, and Irma's, and they're so identical. I mean, I just totally copied every nuance of her vocals. I mean, it was one of the first records. It was the first record I ever. No, it was the second record.
Second record. That's cool. It's a flip side too, wasn't it? That song. Because I think It's Raining was the A side of It's My.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you're right. And I love that song too. Maybe I guess I'll have to try to do it sometime. But and Irma's so generous about it. You know, she just thinks it's funny that I copy her all the time.
Right.
So we all knew the song, so it seemed like the logical thing to do. So we went down to New Orleans, had a great food and a great afternoon with the girls, and
cool.
Drove back through Memphis and had ribs at Cozy Corner. So that was all a big fun event.
Nice. Yeah, because you did a thing called the Blues Broads at some point with Angela Straley and a bunch of other people.
I'm still doing that. I'm going out beginning of next month to do a show with them.
Cool. Oh, nice. And I
was singing with other people.
Yeah,
I'd rather do that than sing solo any day of the week. I love singing backup. I love harmonies, and so this is all fun, big fun for me.
Right. So when you were singing back in the '60s and started out, who did you look to other than, say, Irma Thomas?
Other than Irma? Well, early on, I wanted to be an old black lady from the Mississippi Delta.
Okay.
So
that explains the Ma Rainey cover.
Ma Rainey, yeah. And but then I kind of graduated to actually Mavis Staples.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It was huge early on. I got all my low notes from singing along with the Staples singer, singing Mavis's parts on the Staples record. So, and then Aretha and Etta James and it just, I sort of did this whole kind of historical trek through
Yep.
the decades.
I thought it was interesting you chose to record Compared to What, which is slightly more political than the other tracks that you've chosen.
It is very much more, you know what? They took it off the Amazon site, but on the Target site, I still have an explicit lyrics banner across my ad.
Really?
Yeah, which I am just crazy proud of.
Right, yeah.
Just when I think I've done everything, that was really exciting.
Slaughterhouses killing whores, twisted children killing frauds, dumb folks in an orange Ford, tired old ladies kissing doors. Hate that Cheeto, love that stinking mud. I don't need it, trying to make it real compared to what.
Yeah.
That's a song when I was in college and briefly after that, before I moved to California and was working with an R&B band, all musicians, all people who were listening to music, that was an anthem.
Right.
And I've thought about that song for years, and it has such a cachet. I mean, it's kind of like, nobody dares try to do it, because the Les the G. McDaniels version really was the first version I ever heard, but the Les McCann and senior moment saxophone player Eddie Harris.
That's it. Yep.
That version is the anthem.
Yeah, that's the one everybody knows. I think Roberta Flack was the first one to do it, though, wasn't she?
She did it, and somebody strange, some British guy did it, but I'd thought about it for years, and I just thought, I'm 78 years old. I mean, am I going to wait till I'm 80 to do that song?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, best get it done now. And that was a little daunting to try it, but we went a whole different direction with the groove, and I threw in a few of my own lyrics to make it. I thought that I talked to Marcia Ball, and I said, let's write this song, like make it a little more current.
Right.
I went back and listened to it, and it is freaking current.
Yeah, it's current. So
nothing about it.
Speaking of current, are you are you wary of the political climate in the States at the moment?
I'm terrified. I am terrified, annoyed, infuriated. I mean, I threw in a couple Trump lines in the song. I don't know if you picked up on it, but one is folks are in an orange fog,
right?
and also hate that Cheeto was another. and then I changed one line on the unwed mothers need abortion. Old white men done really run amok. That's the only way I made it any more current, but it didn't need much.
No.
And having Terry Hank on that was great too.
I was going to say the sax is fantastic there.
He's wonderful. He's a great singer and a great sax player. And I worked with him in a band out in California called the Rat Band for years. And I go out there and they'd be the band that backed me up. So, that was another wonderful thing to get to do.
Right. Now you kind of mentioned in our correspondence leading up to this interview that you were interested in New Zealand culture and Maori culture and things like that. So, what do you know about it? How do you?
I don't know much. I know about the Maori culture and that, but I don't know why that's intrigued me always. But it has. If I believed in that shit, I'd say that I was Maori in a former life, but I don't believe in that. So, but I do know I've wanted to get a tattoo for years.
Right.
Practically every decade since I was 40, I've said, no, it's time to get a tattoo. But I really want to get a Maori tattoo. And I'm Tony Garnier, who works with Dylan.
Yep.
Dylan, bass player and band leader still, I think.
I think he is, yeah.
I did a thing in Florida where a gig where a bunch of people came together and did this get together for New Year's Eve show. And he had a tattoo. And I said, that looks like a Maori tattoo. And he said, it is. And I thought, well, I said, I thought that was a, really a cultural,
Right.
spiritual thing. And he said, no, I met a guy that, of course, with Dylan, you can you just put it out there and it happens. But, he said, no, I met a guy who that's what he does, but he will do non-Maori.
Right.
And he told me this guy, after he did Tony's tattoo, he was going to an island to tattoo a couple for their wedding. It was going to take him 6 months. So this guy's is serious.
That's hardcore.
So that's my next dream, is to get to New Zealand and get a tattoo.
Do you know what a moko is?
No.
It's a tattoo that they have
under the lip.
But I think that might be culturally insensitive if a non-Maori were to get one of those here in New Zealand.
Yeah, the whole thing is culturally appropriative.
Yep.
But I don't get to use that term very often. At least it's applied to myself. No, I just want something simple on my arm, like a turtle or something.
Yep.
That's my plan.
Good. Well, it's a good plan. You should make plans to come down here. Definitely.
I talked to Charlie Musselwhite years ago. He called me, and he was in New Zealand, and he had just been to see a Maori Jimmy Reed band.
Oh, really? I don't know who that is, but I'm sure it's a thing.
I mean, man.
Yeah. Well, you know who the folks in New Zealand really love is Bob Marley. Bob Marley came, and the Wailers came here in like 79 or 80 and put on this huge show, and it just invigorated, and they're still talking about it to this day, and it's amazing how they pick up on the stuff, and it shows the power of music, really, that it's just universal.
Yeah, I mean, that does surprise me, but yeah, I mean, if you do some research, if you can find that Maori Jimmy Reed band, I'm coming over just for that.
All right, we'll see what we can swing. Very good. So you're going to wait another 10 years for the next record, or what are you thinking about doing?
I don't think so. Depending on, if the labels are still willing to do it.
Right.
I've got, I sat on I could have done 5 or 6 records with the tunes I've been sitting on over the past 10 years. And then there's always something new coming down the pipe. And, so yeah, I mean, I plan on doing another one at least.
Yeah. Well,
I can still sing at age 78. My voice I don't have everything I used. Well, I don't have my high notes,
right?
But I have better low notes, and the notes I do have are pretty goddamn good.
Yep.
So why not?
Yeah, why not? It worked for Leonard Cohen, didn't it?
I guess.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and with the label thing, I mean, let's face it, the music business is very different today, and it's not. A lot of people are just doing everything on their own and bypassing the label because nobody's making any money on the records anyway. So
yeah, I'd rather have somebody else kind of in charge of it. I don't want to spend my money and all the promotional, all that stuff. I'd rather.
Right.
I do have a publicist, and we've got a radio guy.
Right.
That are doing a really good job, and that comes through a label. Otherwise, if you have to do it yourself, that's more like work.
Yep, that definitely. All righty.
Can't have that.
You can't have that, no. All righty. Yeah. Well, so are you doing gigs around the songs on this record, or? No,
I've got a few things coming up to the first of the year, and we're going to try to start touring after that. I've got a Broads gig 1st of October. I'm doing Mountain Stage, which is a PBS.
Yep. And
I'm doing I think a gig with Carlene Carter in November, and a thing in Memphis, in the round. These are just individual little things that are easy for me to do, and so that's trying to avoid COVID still.
Yep, same here.
How is it over there? Is it cropped up again?
Well, I think it's the same as it is everywhere. We did a pretty good job of locking down and locking out, but it's still a thing, and people still get it. I've met somebody or ran into somebody. I have a photographer who shoots concerts for me, and he had canceled last week because he got COVID. So it still happens, but it's not.
This record took months longer because we scheduled somebody. We did a lot of things remotely, and somebody did get COVID, and then we'd have to, so it took that really entered into things pretty severely.
I know a lot of people who got it. I've managed to avoid it myself. So
I'm knocking on wood right now.
that's my plan for the future.
Yeah, exactly.
All righty. Well, thank you for spending time talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Great.
And I hope the record does everything you wanted to do, and hope you get down to New Zealand and get that tattoo.
Yes, well, you'll be the first to know.
Okay, I'll see you then.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.